Good morning, everyone. I'm Jick L.
My name is Abraham A. Manubis.
My name is Jick Salvame.
Is Jebs Ceniza.
And we are the Group 4. We will present to you the topic about the different tribes in the Philippines.
What is indigenous tribe?
With over 7,600 islands in the Philippines and 3 major islands, it's no wonder that different cultural practices and traditions and groups are present in the country. Among the archipelago's existing communities, there are indigenous tribes who have managed to keep their cultural identity despite the non-recognition and marginalization they're facing. Naay 7,600 sa Pilipinas and 3 major island groups, which is the Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And it is not surprising good nga different cultural practices such as traditions and groups are existing in our country. Like for example, kanang pagmamano as a sign of respect, or like fiestas, bayanihan, simbang gabi, or like kanang butngan og dugo ang atong agtanglay kanang kurosan. Those are some practices in our country. Medianoche and we Filipinos have the longest Christmas celebrations ever. And so on. Basta daghan kaayo tag cultural practices, and then another one is groups, which means we people like mga Cebuano, Ilocano, and Hiligaynon, and so on.
Igorot people, the indigenous peoples of the Cordillera Mountain Range of the northern Luzon, Philippines, are often referred to using the exoname Igorot people, or more recently as the Cordilleran peoples.
Igorot, known as people from the mountains. The Igorots of the Cordilleras are among the indigenous people of the Philippines who are suffering from a national oppression deeply rooted in the Filipino society. Kaning mga Igorot, kugihan kaayo ni sila, isog ug naa sila'y loyalty ug asa sila nagikan. They are rich of their cultures and beliefs na hangtod karon sa ila ing anak ta trait gi-continue gihapon nila even sa new generation sa mga Igorot. The culture and tradition of occupational Igorots, there is just a simple lifestyle like planting and harvesting, hauling, hunting, weaving, farming, and wood carving. The second group of tribes in the Philippines, which is Lumad. Meanwhile, in the southern part of the country, indigenous tribes are mostly found in Mindanao and western Visayas. In Mindanao, these existing non-Muslim indigenous groups are collectively known as the Lumad, a Cebuano term which means native or indigenous. Lumad means native, like they are lumad na lumulupyoan ng lugara. In the southern part of the country port, there is existing a non-Muslim indigenous group known as the Lumad. It is a Cebuano term which has 18 ethnic groups including the Blaan, Bukidnon, Hiligaynon, and so on.
The third group of the indigenous tribes in the Philippines is the Sama Banchaw. Originally from the islands of Sulu in Mindanao, they are known as the sea tribes living in the houseboats. They try to make ends meet by depending on the sea as divers, fishermen, and navigators. They also called as the sea nomads.
Badyaw, known as man of the sea. Kini sila makita nato ni sa kilid-kilid. Mostly, they live in the houseboats because of their lack of shelter, and gapuyo ra jud ni sila sa dagat, which is maupod ni ang naghatag nilag source of income matag adlaw. And also, magbuhat sila mga pokot, bangka, or anything na related na gamit sa mga fisherman.
And the fourth group is the Ati and Tumandok tribe. One of the few clans in Visayas, the Ati and Tumandok tribes of Panay Island are the first to call the island their home. also called as the Panay Bukidnon tribe. This is a celebration in honor of the infant Jesus, the town's patron. Ati-atihan observed in honor of the child Jesus. Ati-atihan means making like atis, that is pretending to be like the aboriginal natives that once inhabited a clan.
The Ati are the first people to call Panay Island home. They are genetically related to other Negrito ethnic groups in the Philippines like the Aita of Luzon. Ati can be found primarily on the islands of Panay, Guimaras, and Negros. The word Ati is a corruption of the Visayan word Agta, which literally means black.
The fifth indigenous tribe, which is Palawan. Palawan is also home to various tribes such as the Batak, Palawenyo or Palawano, and the Tagbanwa, mostly living in mountains or lowland regions. Some of this group have also been included in the large Manubo tribe of the south. They have not totally embraced urban living, with the majority living in more rural setting.
Ang Palawan mauusab ang Pinoyanan sa laing-laing mga tribo sama sa Batak, Palawenyo, Palawano ug Tagbanwa. Kasagaran nagpuyo sa kabukiran o ubos nga na mga Puluyanan ang uban niini nga mga grupo nalakip usab sa dakong tribo sa Manubo sa habakatan. Wala nila nahingpit nga gisakop ang pagpuyo sa kasyudaran nga ang kadaghanan nagpuyo sa mas daghan mga lugar sa kabanikinhan.
The sixth indigenous tribe, which is Mangyan. The Mangyan of Mindoro are a well-known clan in the Philippines because they have the biggest populace. Embracing each different Mangyan group, they have a peaceful reputation, unlike the headhunting tribe of the north and warrior tribe from the south. While some are already converted into Christianity, there is still a large percentage of those who practice animistic religious belief.
Mangyan is the generic name of the 8 indigenous groups found in the islands of Mindoro. The total population may be around 280,000, but official statistics are difficult to determine. Kining mga Mangyan gitawag sa Nisilag Hanuno Mangyans, meaning true, pure, or genuine, a term that they use to stress the fact that they are strict in the sense of ancestral preservation of tradition and practices. Their sustenance is farming for their own crops, fruits, and hunting. When it comes to religion, is that their traditional religious worldview is primarily animistic. Around 10% have embraced Christianity, both Roman Catholicism and Evangelical Protestantism.
Is the Aitas and Negritos. Aitas and Negritos are one of the earliest known inhabitants of the Philippines, who are now living in scattered mountainous areas of the country. They were called by the Spanish colonizer as the Negritos because of their dark brown skin.
Itas or Negritos are the first tribe in the Philippines. They are considered by anthropologists to be descendants of the original inhabitants of the Philippines. The ancestors of Itas were the aborigines from Australia that migrated from our country around 90,000 years ago. They usually live in mountains.